Have you ever observed that no matter how bad the economy is, the salaries of politicians, including their ridiculous allowances, are always intact? But in an ideal nation, politicians are not supposed to earn exorbitant salaries when the majority of the citizens are struggling to make ends meet, because they are servants of the people. This is why the President of Burkina Faso, Captain Traore, recently announced in an interview that plans have been set in place to reduce the salary of Burkinabe politicians. Speaking at the interview, Captain Traore first expressed his concern regarding the exorbitant salary and allowances paid by the state to certain public servants and executives in the country. He noted that this practice should be denounced and emphasized that it would no longer be tolerated in his administration. According to Traore, it is unfair for a few people to earn millions of CFA franc as salaries every month, while a large number of people in the society are struggling to afford even the basic necessities of life, such as food and clean drinking water. He further stated that it's not just a matter of reducing the salaries of certain politicians, but correcting the whole system to ensure that there is a balance. He emphasized that everything needs to be based on a principle, and that it is time to correct the imbalance in the system. As a result, some people will see a decrease in their salary, while others may see an increase, but they should accept it in good faith because it is for the greater good and it will create a balance. He also pointed out that everyone needs to contribute for the good of the country, so those whose salaries have been cut should see it as their own contribution to the growth of the country. He further highlighted that those in the villages need basic necessities such as good roads, health centers, and clean drinking water. So, the country must give this a priority instead of dishing out money every month to pay a group of people exorbitant salaries. This is the balance that Captain Traore was referring to. What an unconventional leader. Traore's actions since he came to power show that he is indeed different from the African politicians we have today. How many African presidents have come out to say that there is a need to create a balance and correct the income inequality highly prevalent in the country, whereby those at the top earn millions for sitting down and saying yay and nay, while those at the bottom who do the work earn peanuts? The answer is very few. The most notable leader who has carried out such action is Thomas Sankara, former president of Burkina Faso. When Thomas Sankara assumed power, he sold off the government's fleet of Mercedes cars and made the cheapest car at the time, the Renault 5, the official vehicle of government officials. He also reduced the salaries of politicians at the top, including his own, and banned the use of first-class airline tickets. Given that Ibrahim Traore is a follower of the teachings and principles of Sankara, it is not surprising that he too wants to carry out the same actions. And guess what? Before announcing his plans to reduce the salaries of Burkinabe politicians, Captain Traore made headlines a few months ago when he announced that he would not take the salary of the president. Instead, he has decided to only keep the salary that he had as a military captain in order to show this spirit of sacrifice which must inhabit each Burkinabe in the current situation of our country. This is in contrast to the former military junta, Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba, whom Ibrahim Traore overthrew and took over from. In the short time that Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba was in office, he increased his presidential salary and that of the ministers. Captain Traore's decision to renounce his salary as president shows his commitment to leading by example and his willingness to make personal sacrifices for the good of the country. This gesture by Traore is rare and not something that just any kind of leader would do. In recent times, the only president who has opted out of the presidential salary is the military leader of Gabon, President Nguema, who announced in October last year that he would only receive the salary of his position as the commander of the Presidential Guard. Actions such as this make the people willing to believe that the leader cares about what they are going through. Aside from opting out of the presidential salary, Captain Traore has also proved his devotion to his country by refusing to accept a higher rank in the army in order to focus on his role as a public servant. He is also known for visiting hospitals and orphanages in his free time, showing dedication and concern for the welfare of the Burkinabe citizens. Under his administration, the executive repealed a decree issued by former President Paul-Henri Damiba in April 2022, which increased the salary of the president and members of the government. The increase was so much so that one minister was receiving more than 2 million CFA francs as salary. However, Traore repealed this decision and established the 2008 decree, which set the salary of ministers between 1 million to 1.5 million CFA franc, but likely this figure will further reduce with his new plans to reduce politicians' salaries. In addition to this, the Burkinabe ministers followed in the footsteps of Ibrahim Traore and donated 50% of their salaries in November 2023 to the National Solidarity Fund, which helps disadvantaged Burkinabe, especially internally displaced people. There is no doubt that the Burkinabe ministers did this because their leader Ibrahim Traore showed commitment and passion for the welfare of the Burkinabe people. How many African presidents and politicians can do this? Instead, the only thing they do is take and take. They do not just receive exorbitant salaries plus ridiculous allowances, they also steal funds set aside for infrastructure development. The annoying thing is most of these politicians were already rich before they stepped foot into the helm of leadership. Let's take Nigeria, for example. The senior lawmakers in the National House of Assembly earn 56.6 million naira every year as salary. But if you add in the regular allowances such as domestic staff, wardrobe, entertainment, and constituency, the total annual salary of Nigerian lawmakers at the National Assembly is 218.6 million naira. Under the Tinubu administration, it has been reported by the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission that President Tinubu's 48 ministers, the highest of any president since Nigeria's independence, will gulp in 8.6 billion naira in 4 years. The question is, how much are the civil servants in Nigeria earning? A measly amount that is not enough to buy them and their family their basic needs. When the Labor Union of Nigeria insisted that the government increase the salary of civil servants to compensate for the inflation rate, which has led to triple the price of food items and transportation in recent times, the lawmakers complained, asking where the government would get the money from. Yet, there is always money to pay their salaries and wardrobe allowance every month, as if they need to buy new clothes every month. What a sham. The Nigerian government under the presidency of President Tinubu should take a lesson from Captain Traore and follow in his footsteps. But not just Nigeria, every other African country should also follow in Traore's footsteps. He has indeed shown what and how a true leader should lead. In addition to leading by example, Traore has also implemented a variety of measures aimed at boosting economic growth in Burkina Faso and supporting entrepreneurship. One of his notable achievements is the introduction of historic tax cuts, which has helped to stimulate investment and create job opportunities. His administration is also working closely with the private sector to provide young entrepreneurs with access to capital so that they can start and grow their businesses. Another notable achievement that speaks of his ingenuity is the introduction of the concept of popular shareholding. Captain Traore is a leader who believes in everybody contributing to the success and growth of the country, and it is this belief that he incorporated into the concept of popular shareholding. This concept involves the privatization of government holdings and projects, allowing citizens of the country to buy shares, invest, and share in the success of the establishment. To this end, the Traore administration put up 20% of the government's phone company to the public. It was a huge success as it generated $60 million for the government, which was used to fund critical projects regarding development and security. Captain Traore's commitment to economic growth and entrepreneurship, as well as his lifestyle as an exemplary leader, is helping to create a more prosperous future for Burkina Faso. It is therefore a wonder that despite these achievements, the media do not report them, but only focus on how insecurity has increased in the country since the French army was kicked out. But again, it should not be surprising, given that the media is highly controlled by the West, which seeks to tear down the image of Captain Traore, who has distanced himself and his country from them. This is why the African media must push this great news to counter the action of the West and change the narrative that Africans cannot govern themselves because of decades of corrupt leadership. Ibrahim Traore's commitment and devotion to serving his country is a testament to the fact that Africa is capable of self-governance and has leaders who are passionate and dedicated to seeing the growth of their nations. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video.